you guys just drove out here from
You want to take it?
Colorado.
from Colorado. What part of Colorado you
Denver, just south of Denver, Castle Rock.
in? Okay. Well, Robert, is it Robert? Do you
Bob.
prefer Bob? Okay.
Do you want to sit down, Bob? In this
Yeah.
chair?
In fact, why don't if you you guys
You tell
all
us
want
what
to
to do,
stand?
Rick.
I mean, it's
Everybody sit.
what I do here is
Sit on my knee.
Can we open the blinds?
yeah, do it.
Yeah.
It takes
There's
a
some
few.
light.
It takes
Hold
a
that.
few minutes for me to make my presentation. Bob, the reason I'm here today is because I am with
You gonna pull them up?
I am with a nonprofit organization called Quilts of Valor. Have you ever heard of Quilts of Valor?
Seems like it.
Okay. Well, Quilts of Valor is a nonprofit organization that was started in 2003, and what we do is we're a bunch of quilters, and we make quilts for veterans.
Oh, you were saying quilts.
Quilts,
Okay.
yes. I know it's kind of hard because on the phone it's really bad, you know. People go, what? What are you saying?
I thought you
And then
were
I
saying
just spell it.
quotes of valor. We're just talking about insurance quotes.
Yeah, quilts. Well, I do talk a little funny. I've been told anyway.
Are you from the South?
I like
Well, I
I
live-
like your voice. That's good.
I lived in Texas for many, many years.
There you go.
From the time I was a child. So we make quilts for veterans and active duty service members who have been what we call touched by war. And what I always like to do is, before I show you the quilt, I always like to tell the story of Quilts of Valor because I think it's a really compelling story, and it's one that you just would never believe how it started and where it's come so far. In 2003, a woman named Catherine Roberts, who was a quilter, she had a son who had joined the Army, and he was deploying to Iraq, and she said that after he left, she constantly felt 10 seconds away from panic. And I know exactly how that feels because I had a son in the Army too, and he deployed twice once to Iraq and once to Afghanistan. So I knew how she felt, and she wanted to do something meaningful. And she knew that in 2003, that was the early years of Iraq and Afghanistan. We hadn't been in there very long. So she knew that there were wounded warriors coming off the battlefields, and she thought about it, and she thought, maybe I could make those wounded warriors a quilt, put some quilts, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about it, a quilt is pretty comforting, especially if it's handmade by, you know, a beautiful quilt. And, you know, they wake up in the hospital and they're covered with this beautiful quilt, and they know that that's not government issue.
Someone can.
Yeah, I mean, this didn't come from the Army. And so what she decided to do is to set up her own little group, and she got all of her quilting buddies together, and they started making Quilts of Valor.
Huh.
And before very long, through the magic of the internet, guess what? The word spread. And I want to tell you something. If you don't know any quilters, we are a nosy bunch of people. We love to get on there and look and see what other groups are doing. And pretty soon, people all across the country started contacting Catherine. And they wanted to be a part of this group. They wanted to help. And so when you're talking about, you know, people who are in combat, that just gets really close to their hearts. And so she started helping these people set up their own groups, and pretty soon there were groups in every single state. She set up a nonprofit organization called Quilts of Valor, and I've been involved since about 2010, and I'm so proud to be a part of this organization. And I'm also very proud to say that since 2003, we have awarded more than 214,000 Quilts of Valor.
Wow.
That's nationwide and overseas. We do have quilts that go over there too.
It is.
Now, think about how many extra people she had. There's not that many wounded warriors coming off the battlefields. So she decided early on that she could expand the mission. So although it started out as a wounded warrior thing, that's not how it's ended up. Today, as I said, our mission is to cover service members and veterans who have been touched by war with comforting and healing Quilts of Valor. Now, I'm going to show you your quilt here. And after we show you the quilt, get some pictures, I have something I want to say. You were in Vietnam.
Right.
And I have something I want to say about that, because I think it's important. Vietnam was my generation's war, and I remember it. I remember it well. And these young people here, I hope that having you in the family will make them understand what Vietnam was really all about. Anyway, here we go.
I was there and I don't think I understand what it was.
Well, more
You
the
know what I mean?
aftermath, the aftermath. What happened when you came home,
Yeah.
more than anything.
Want me
Okay,
to help you?
yes. Actually, could we get maybe the two of you to
Yeah,
hold it up?
still in
'Cause what
Lana.
I'd like to do is get a picture.
Okay.
Okay, that's gonna be upside down.
Okay.
That's
It's pretty.
Oh, it is.
it. We got it?
Oh, look at that.
Okay, here. Why don't you stand over here?
It's
This
upside
corner.
down.
Underwear.
It's upside down.
It's upside down?
Okay, come on.
Are you getting this on video?
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay.
Oh,
What did I
my
do with my,
goodness.
hold on.
Oh, it's an okay. That's cool.
Look at the stars.
I thought it was Asian at first.
Look at that.
That's
That's
gorgeous.
beautiful.
Okay. Now, what I'd like for you to do, if you could,
Look at my phone.
if you would,
Liberty and
can you
justice
stand in
for
front
all.
of it?
Wow.
Please
Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Okay. Well, I was
Really
telling
beautiful.
Dawn
Should be hung up.
that I had another quilt picked out for you, and then I saw this one on the pile of
Just stand
quilts,
back here. Just
and I said, nah, he's got to have the one with the eagle. And if you
Yeah.
notice, the eagle is in full flight with wings spread wide, and in his talons is an American flag
Yeah.
and a banner that says liberty and justice for all. Could you stand in front of it so we can get a picture of it?
That's fantastic.
Maybe over to the side so you can see
sit
the
here,
quilt.
I'll go
Got your
behind you.
flag.
Yeah, just stand right here, right here on the edge of it so we can see the quilt too.
So the,
Stand back here.
come on.
Peek over my shoulder.
No,
It doesn't make a
come
good picture,
on.
you have to.
Get up there and stand
Come
up there
on.
big and strong.
Stand in front of it.
In front.
Yeah.
Go in front of it. And then
We
I'll
know
be
you're
on the
not that
edge.
shy. We've seen you.
Well, not in the middle of it, we want to.
It's right there.
Okay,
There you go. So you
how's
can
that?
see the eagle.
Yeah.
He's a good soldier. Wait a minute, was it Army?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. See, he still takes good direction. He was in the Army.
Yes, it does.
I was a sergeant till I gave direction.
Oh, okay. So you don't know how to take directions,
Oh,
is
I
that
do.
it?
I'm not very good at it.
Robert? Yeah, okay, I can take it now.
Huh?
One thing I wanted to show you on the quilt is it has a, here,
Oh, you did.
if I can find it. Where'd it go? Well, I know I sewed it on here last night. It has a quilt label, and it's a custom quilt label. There it is. And it says, Quilt of Valor awarded to Robert Kreger, United States Army. This quilt is a token of our deep respect, admiration, and gratitude for your service to our country. And it has the name of the person who pieced the quilt, that pieced the top, and the person who did the machine quilting. So,
Made right here in Kansas City.
Yep.
Well, how
yeah, we have a
nice.
group here in Kansas City. We cover 29 counties on both sides of the state line.
Wow.
Now, there's another thing I want to do, and this is what we
I wanted
always
to see
do.
this up close. And notice these from a distance.
You ladies are, I'm pointing to the ladies because most men don't like little figurines that you see in Hallmark. Have you ever heard of Jim Shore? Oh, okay. He's a famous, he makes figurines, and a lot of them are Americana.
Oh, yes.
And
It's just-
this is a line of fabric that he designed, and this is a lot of what his figurines look like. They have that sort of Americana look.
Boy, they're beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
That eagle just looks
Mhm,
very
yeah.
regal, doesn't he?
Yeah. But what I want to do now is what we call, this is called,
Dun dun dun.
Scepter.
turn this
Awesome.
way a little bit.
King Bob.
Sergeant,
Yeah.
you behave. This is called the Quilt of Valor hug. And what we want you to know is that every time you, or what we want you to do is every time you wrap up in your quilt, we want you to think about all of the quilters across the country who really appreciate what you did for our country and find some comfort in your Quilt of Valor hug.
Well, thank you.
Now, there's one more thing I want to do, and I'm going to need, what did I do with my, I'm going to need my glasses for this.
It's warm.
I said that I was going to say something.
That's because it's a hug.
Yeah, you can take that.
It's a hug.
Yeah, I got a little hot under collar there.
How
Okay.
you doing?
Good.
I just think that for the Vietnam veterans, there's something else that I think needs to be said today. It's important that we recognize all of our veteran services, but for the Vietnam veterans, you served during a very difficult time in our history. I think there's no doubt about that. It was a time when many Americans who were against the war blamed our returning warriors and treated them harshly. Sadly, many more Americans stood by and remained silent. Over the years, this unfair treatment of Vietnam veterans has come to be recognized for what it was: an unjust, shameful, and tragic chapter in American history. We are proud and honored to award you Quilt of Valor. We know it is long overdue, but we hope that this quilt will give you some measure of comfort. We also hope it will serve as a tangible reminder that after all these years, Americans, not just us quilters, but a lot of Americans all across the country are finally recognizing the sacrifices you made, not only on the battlefield, but here at home. At long last, you can be assured that your service was not in vain. On behalf of the Quilts of Valor volunteers here in the Kansas City area and all across America, I want to thank you for your honorable service to our country, and welcome home, soldier.
Thank you.
Welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bring me a drink and a steak dinner.
Now, we also have, I have a folder here for you. You're going to notice that your quilt, it's a little kind of crinkly and soft. That's because it's been washed. We're required to wash our quilts. We do it for a couple of different reasons. One reason is if there's a lot of white in it next to saturated colors like reds and blue that might run, and that happens with fabric sometimes. We can catch that and fix it by washing it. Another reason we ask people to wash it is in case they have things like cats or dogs in their house, you know.
Yes.
And I don't know if this lady she might have had some cats, but anyway, that's why it's been
hundred.
washed. But in this folder, there are washing instructions. At some point in time, we want you to use your quilt. We don't want you to fold it up and put it on the
Don't
shelf.
just hang it up and look at it.
No, we want you to use your quilt. It will wash and it will last. If you follow these instructions, it will last for many, many, many generations.
All right.
You can hand it down to your,
You get it when I'm gone.
Cool.
yeah.
Let's hope that's
So-
on for a
What
long time.
surprise.
And I also have a certificate here. Now, you might be wondering, how come it's not in a frame? Well, we spend all our money on the fabric. We're too cheap to buy. But what we discovered is, we thought about it, and a lot of people just don't put things on the wall. I know that I've walked into people's houses and, you know, they might have a room that the whole wall is covered with their medals and
yes.
all of that, you know. Or they may not, you know, so if they don't want, you know, what's the point in putting it in a frame if it's just gonna be put on the shelf? You know, we don't know that, so besides we're cheap. We spend all our money on the good fabric that goes in your quilts.
Yeah.
But this quilt, I do wanna, read what it says. It says, "On behalf of the Quilts of Valor Foundation, it is a privilege to honor your service to our country. Although we may never know the extent of your sacrifice to protect and defend the United States of America, as an expression of our deep respect, admiration, and gratitude, we award you this Quilt of Valor." It's got today's date on it, so.
Wow.
So you get to keep that.
Oh,
This is just a pillowcase. We give it a fancy name. We call it a presentation case. But you can use it as a pillowcase if you want to, or if you're traveling and you want to take your quilt with you and you want to make sure it doesn't get all dirty or anything, you can put it inside
Is
there.
that handmade also?
Yes, it is.
It's beautiful.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's
gorgeous.
We have people
It is.
that, if we run out of pillowcases, all I have to do is get on our Facebook page and say, I need some pillowcases, and they magically appear. You know?
That's great.
We have people that would rather do that. Maybe they don't, you know, have the time to make a full quilt, but they'll make some pillowcases for us.
There's a lady that lives just a few blocks away that does quilting.
Oh, really?
Right
We're
here.
gonna share this with her.
Yeah, she gave
She's
me a
got one of those
quilt.
big quilting machines.
She gave me one that puts me to sleep. I cover up with it in my chair and I'm just out.
So she's got a quilting machine. We love quilting machines.
I'm gonna turn Shirley on to you all.
Well, it would be nice. That's one thing that we do have. Sometimes we have problems finding long armors. Do you know what a long armor is? If you look up close when you get a chance, and I think this one has been, this one has been custom quilted.
Oh.
We don't usually ask our volunteer long armors. They do that for a business, and they charge by the square inch.
Wow.
And so we ask, a lot of times they just do an overall pattern, you know, stars and swirls. But yeah, you can tell this one is, if you look at it, see, looky here. She did right in there, she did some little swirlies there. And she even on the panel,
I see some
She
of those
went
from back
over
here. Yeah.
the little squares. You'll take a look at it when you get a
Getting too
chance.
hot.
This is a custom job. And people who do that long arming, it's a big machine. It would probably
Oh, it's
be as
huge.
long as
Shirley's
this,
is great.
you know,
it
and
fills the
pretty
whole
wide.
room.
And they roll the quilt on a big roller, and there's a big arm. That's why it's called a long arm machine. The big arm, a sewing machine that goes down, and they can. A lot of them have the computers, and they can computerize it, and it goes and you got to put 3 layers together. There's the front, which is the pretty part, and the back. Now this is an interesting back. She had some leftover fabric, so she just put a little strip in the back there.
That's cool.
That is neat.
Oh,
A little extra touch.
Yeah, it's just a little extra,
little racing strap.
like a racing stripe.
Bob's
Anyway,
getting
you have to
into
put the
racing.
front and the back together with some what we call batting. It's kind of a, you know, it's got a little cushiony stuff to it. It's cotton and with a little bit of polyester in it. And we call it a quilt sandwich. And you put it on the machine, you roll it up, and then the arm goes and does all of those to keep it together. Otherwise, it'd come apart. And then we take some fabric about 2.5 inches wide and fold it over and sew it on the edge, and that's called binding. And that's what makes the edges
It's
finish.
so
It's
beautiful.
just beautiful. Thank you.
And so what I was saying is, we love our long armors because, you know, when they volunteer to do this for us, we know that it's cutting into their business, you know. But a lot of them have veterans in their families, and they want to give back, and so,
That is beautiful.
yeah.
That's way beyond my expectations.
It is.
It is.
Well, what I want to say is thank you so much, because I went about to see what I needed to do to get this done. And, cause I'd heard about it, and I sent in all the information that I needed to send in. And Raylene had called me a couple of times and I didn't get the phone call for some reason.
Yeah, there
And
was something wrong with
there
the
was,
phone.
there was something, so she just kept trying.
And then the email.
And then our emails were having trouble, so we
was
did a
weird.
bunch of texting back and forth, and she has just been fabulous to work with, so I wanna thank you for everything you've done for us.
Oh.
So I have a little gift for you, and then a card to
Oh, I don't
thank you.
expect a gift.
Wow.
I know you did.
You're just
I-
supposed
You
to
deserve
say
one
thank
now.
you.
Thank you.
Aw,
But
but
that
I
is-
didn't make the quilt.
It doesn't make any
But you
difference.
came.
I worked
You showed
with
up.
you, and you, when
Do you want
we
me to
had
open it
to,
here?
it's up to you. But 2 weeks ago, you know, we were supposed to come, and then all the snow,
Yeah,
and then we had to
yeah.
redo, and she's busy,
I
and,
had a feeling that was gonna be still a little too early,
yeah, well,
and
I
it
was
didn't
just
work
too
out.
excited,
but
once you
this
called
is
me and said it was ready, I wanted to do it that day.
Look at this beautiful
It's just so
paper.
hard.
This almost looks like it could be a quilt.
Yeah, this is just something very small, it's just,
Is that what I think it is?
it is.
Oh, just what I need. Just what I need.
Yeah, it's made in Rocky Mountain, it's Rocky Mountain
It's
chocolate.
chocolate.
Good for the soul, Raylene.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had a friend in college named Raylene, and we called her Rara.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you first said Raylene, I
Well,
was looking at you, and I was, is that
most
Rara?
Most people call me Ray, and some people do call me Ray Ray.
Huh.
But you have nice handwriting.
Oh. School teacher in me.
Oh, you were a school teacher.
Yeah.
So how long are you guys staying?
Couple
Well-
more hours.
We'll be
We
here.
gotta head back, got snow across the plains here, so we'll be heading back here second.
We've been
Is
on the
it snowing
road.
again out there?
We're hoping
It
we're
wasn't.
behind it now.
Or it just never stopped, is that?
This-
Oh.
But this
from
storm
the
that,
kids, 'cause
storm
they
that
couldn't be
came
here.
through and snowed in Denver last night, and it kind of comes across the plains, but it's just what you got here.
Yes,
So
it
Uh,
was.
we get back before
Well-
it freezes on the road.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
no,
know, this,
we just-
we